Was February carefully chosen for Black History Month, or is it just a coincidence? Millions of people, especially Blacks, celebrate this month, which in turn highlights Black history. But why was February chosen? Why not any other month? Even why not pick a day instead of an entire month? If you are curious about Black history, then you have to know the story behind February as Black History Month. So what are myths and facts? Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about the people that are evidently ancestors of and superior to everyone, the Black. We scrutinize history here to bring the Black culture back on the surface again. In this episode, we will debunk why Black History Month is in February and the myths involved. Let's get started. During the early 19th century, little attention was paid to Black culture, history, and arts. They weren't considered something to care about at all because whites were considered superior and the only race to have history and culture. Even if Blacks were genius and more intelligent than non-Blacks of the time, their way toward growth was blocked. Initially, this was done by structural exclusion, in which such a structure is made that excludes a particular class or race of people. In this case, it was Blacks. No matter how brilliant Blacks were, the system prohibited them and made it nearly impossible for them to rise. Black intellects knew that, and that's when the struggle started. Among those intellects was Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson, one of the first to ever study African Black and African American history. No organized record and untempered Black history existed until then, and Woodson knew that. Nobody cared to collect and compile Black history. Hence, he decided to contribute to Black history because he was Black, which is why he is known as the father of Black history. But who was Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson? Well, he was a legendary figure who worked his way out of the coal mines of Kentucky to become one of the greatest historians in Black history. As the son of illiterate parents and a former slave himself, Dr. Woodson defied all odds by earning a PhD in history from Harvard University, a remarkable feat at the time. His lifelong passion was to raise awareness of African American history. He believed education was the key to achieving this goal. He himself was the proof. Only education had given him the superiority Blacks were deprived of. Frustrated that Black youth were not learning their true history in elementary and secondary school, he founded Black History Week in 1926 to help them recognize the significant role that Black people played in the nation's development. He decided Blacks should know that without them, developed nations of the time were nothing. But how could that be done? How could Woodson encourage Black youth to know about Black history? That's when he decided to pick a week and name it Black History Week. The second week of February was chosen, and for a good reason. While it's commonly believed that Dr. Woodson picked this time because of the birthdays of President Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and Frederick Douglass, there's more to the story. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and natural superiority. Let's continue now. After President Lincoln's assassination in 1865, Republicans and the Black community began celebrating his birthday. He was one of the few of the times who had raised their voice for Blacks. And since the 1890s, the Black community across the country has also celebrated Frederick Douglass's birthday for the same reason. Dr. Woodson saw these pre-existing celebrations as an opportunity to establish Black History Week, which was formerly known as Negro History Week. Dr. Woodson's aim was not to create a new tradition, but to reform an existing one by expanding the study of Black history and culture beyond the two great men to encompass the entire Black community's past. As a journalist, author, and historian, Dr. Woodson dedicated his entire life to this mission, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to inspire and educate people today. Dr. Carter G. Woodson advocated that history is made not only by great men, but also by the people. While he respected the likes of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, he believed their birthdays should not be the sole focus of celebration. Rather, the goal was to recognize the Black history and Black people. Here's a hidden historical fact. It was the Union Army troops of nearly 180,000 free Black men and escaped slaves who freed the slaves, not just Lincoln. Woodson wanted to shift the spotlight to the countless Black women and men who contributed to the cause. Thus, in 1926, he established Black History Week to raise awareness of African American history and culture. Later, this week was converted into Black History Month, taking place in February. People across the country responded to his efforts. Black history clubs, plays, and posters sprang up. Woodson's own publications like The Negro in Our History and the Negro History Bulletin provided crucial educational resources. As the black middle class grew and more people moved into cities, the demand for education on African American history continued to rise. Teachers and business owners started demanding more materials, and even white people joined in to offer support. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History struggled to keep up with demand, so they created yearly celebration themes, complete with pictures and lessons. Unfortunately, during the Civil Rights Movement, some teachers in the South had to hide textbooks under their desks to avoid drawing unwanted attention from the principal. However, as access to knowledge improved, high schools nationwide began creating Negro history clubs. The Association for the Study of African American Life and History expanded its branches to reach a wider audience. Mayors began releasing proclamations for Black History Week as the number of African Americans increased. But even before he died in the 1940s, Woodson believed the weekly festivities would end. However, he also believed that the story of Black history and the remembrance of past hardships would never die. Woodson didn't see Black History Week as just a one-week thing. Instead, he urged schools to use Black History Week to showcase what students learned throughout the entire year. In this way, African Americans would study their past every day, and Woodson looked forward to a time when the people would no longer need these annual celebrations. It was a significant moment in history when Black History Week officially became Black History Month in 1976. The Black Power movement gained new emphasis, recognizing what is truly unique about being a Black person in the United States. You should know that the impact of Black people on culture and history is not limited to the United States. Other countries such as Germany, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the Netherlands also honor and recognize the contributions of Black people. But how was Black History Month celebrated earlier? In the late 20th century, Black History Month was often celebrated through educational programs and community events. Schools, libraries, and community centers would host events such as lectures, film screenings, and musical performances highlighting Black Americans' achievements and contributions throughout history. These events aim to educate and inspire people of all ages and to promote understanding and appreciation of Black history and culture. One of the most notable ways people celebrated Black History Month in the late 20th century was through the art. Black musicians, writers, and artists often used their work to explore the Black experience in America, and their contributions were celebrated during Black History Month. Concerts, poetry readings, and art exhibitions featuring Black artists were held in cities nationwide, providing a platform for Black artists to share their work with a wider audience. Black History Month celebrations in the late 20th century also included recognizing Black leaders and activists who had fought for civil rights and social justice. Events honoring figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks were held in communities throughout the country. These events not only celebrated the legacy of these leaders, but also served as a call to action, inspiring people to continue to work towards social justice and equality for all. Overall, Black History Month celebrations in the late 20th century were a time for reflection, education, and community building. Through events and activities highlighting Black Americans' achievements and struggles, people came together to celebrate their shared history and work towards a more just and equitable society. Do you feel there should be any other month than February for Black History Month? Or do you think a month has nothing to do with Black history and one can praise Black history all year? Let us know in the comment section right below. Shouldn't Black History Month be changed coherently to Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela's birthday? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody is talking about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and the evidence proving Black superiority. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.